Moms for Liberty really worked miracles.
We have a crisis in America in public education. This is the future of our kids and our country.
You are joyful warriors.
And we are just getting started. Much more. And I can't wait for you to meet her and for her to share her story this morning with you. Welcome to the show, Shellie Flockhart.
Thank you, Tina. It is a huge honor to be here, so I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited that you're here all the way from Iowa. Unfortunately, our 80 degrees that we had 2 days ago isn't showing itself this morning. And so I'm so sorry because I'm sure it's cold in Iowa right now and it's also freezing here.
Yeah, Friday it's supposed to be 61 in Iowa, and I got here last night and I was like, holy cow, I think it might be colder here.
It's something weird that has happened. It's not normal for this time of year, and I am not enjoying it at all. Yeah. I like the hot weather. So we're glad you're here, though. We're glad you're here in the studio and in the home office of Moms for Liberty. And I'm excited today to get to introduce you to America because you're an amazing woman with an amazing story. So I just want to dig right in and get started. First of all, you have four kids. 4 kids.
4 adults almost.
3 adults and 1
Yes.
still in high school,
Yes.
correct? And so you're a mom, you own your own salon.
Correct.
And what else? Anything else about you think we need to know yet? I don't want you to unveil too much about yourself yet. So
I know.
So
yeah, that's about it.
That's all the good stuff, right? Okay. So let's start on how you became an activist. Like what were some of the things that you were seeing that turned you into a frontline culture war activist in our schools today?
So I would say that the adventure began with, I have 4 kids. Oldest is 30. Youngest is just turned yesterday, 17. And I was seeing a difference in education between the 2 older ones and the 2 younger ones. And COVID hit. We went back to school, and my daughter, who was still in high school, started getting some assignments. My son was going through health class that was showing some sex ed curriculum that was way more advanced than what I was used to. And so I was trying to figure out, when I was parenting my 2 older kids, society was telling parents at that point in time we were too involved. Parents are too involved. They're helicopter moms. They're doing all of this. My 2 younger ones, we started hearing the narrative that parents just aren't involved anymore. They're just not involved. They don't have time. They're just not involved. And so I started wondering, where's this coming from? I'm the same mom that I was a few years ago, doing the same thing. So what's changed?
And so the question is, what has changed? And it's interesting because I have a 24-year-old and a 17-year-old also. And I would say the same thing is true. Even for myself, I definitely overparented the 24-year-old, but the 17-year-old, I've tried to be a little bit more hands-off with learning, right? I think you learn.
Right,
Those that have 4 kids, you're probably an expert. By the time you get to 4, you've got all the problems solved. So what changed between these older children and the younger children, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it probably starts with college. So whether it's the educators being trained to think that this is what's going on, because you would hear it from all different people in either situation. So were parents really changing that much? And when I looked at it, anytime that I have questioned curriculum, I've had to go into the school to meet with the teacher and the principal in order to do so, instead of them just emailing it to me. So the access for parents to get that information has changed a lot.
Interesting. And so you said just a few minutes ago that you were starting to see things in sex ed and health class. And I want to talk about that a little bit because some folks that are listening will say, well, I had sex ed. I know I had sex ed, 5th grade. I remember the film strip, right? Like this is how, a baby is made. Beep, film strip, beep, turn the screen.
Yes.
Very basic stuff. We separated by boys and girls, and it was biology of what was happening to our bodies and what happens when babies are made and things of that nature. Is this what you saw in your children's class? And was that concerning to you?
So in 8th grade, I went in to meet with the principal to go over what they were going to be going over. It was a lot of scenarios. So they went over beyond what the state of Iowa requires. And there were scenarios. And if you were in this situation, what are your options of doing? And
what types of situations?
One of the situations was this girl and boy, and they had started talking and kind of seeing each other, dating. And they were at a friend's house and the parents weren't home. So they had the opportunity to do whatever they wanted. So it was kind of taking the kids through this situation and what to do. Well, then in another part, it starts talking about if you don't feel like you can talk to your parents about what's going on, who do you talk to, making sure that the kids had other resources. And I felt like somebody else was parenting my son. And that was...
You started to see the signs of that division happening,
Right.
which we see in extreme ways now.
Right.
Policies that are even created to divide parents from students. But here it is, gently, I would say, in the curriculum, in the sex ed curriculum at this point. And then I'm curious because you said pointing them to other resources. Did you find in the sex ed curriculum that it was driving students to third-party vendors and external organizations for some of their solutions? Because we've had trouble with that across the country too.
Correct.
For example,
Whether it's a friend, a teacher, another adult, or a counselor, or a
but what about
doctor.
like the Trevor Project, Planned Parenthood? Did you see any of that too? Where it was...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the curriculum that they were using was called ETR, which is actually funded by Planned Parenthood, created by Planned Parenthood.
So it was comprehensive sex ed.
Right. We had a state law at the time that was, there could be no sex ed that was created or provided by an abortion provider.
Really? That's in Iowa law?
That is an Iowa law.
Fascinating.
So it separated us from being able to use anything from Planned Parenthood. So I called it curriculum laundering. So it's kind of like money laundering. So Planned Parenthood had gone through DHS and given money to DHS,
Department of Human Services. Okay.
So that department then created a grant. There was an organization in a small town in Iowa that then funded 5 school districts to be able to have this curriculum, and they provided the teacher, the instructor, to go in and teach.
So but this is the Planned Parenthood curriculum.
Correct.
Holy cow.
Correct.
And so did you chase who figured this out?
I did.
Are you serious?
I chased
amazing.
it down and I went through all of the hoops.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely insane. It's money laundering. It's the same thing, right? You're just filtering it through all these different people
so
to
that
make it
you
look
can
one way.
Get your Planned
Correct.
Parenthood curriculum, which is not allowed by law in the state of Iowa, into classrooms and in front of students, even though Iowa voters elected representatives that created a law that said that's not allowed. That is circumventing the law.
It is.
Is there anything you can do about that in Iowa? Have you done anything about it?
Well, I went into the school district at that time, met with the curriculum director. We went through it, and I was very firm on this needs to be out. It has to be out. We're breaking the law. And they took it out.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the voice of one parent,
Yes.
Did you have to rally 100 people at the school board meeting and protest and hold signs, or did you just expose the corruption basically and they did the right thing?
Yeah. I just exposed it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then that people at home, listen to that. Take the example of Shellie. That's wonderful.
Well, and that was the thing. The district was being provided this education and the educator for free. And so it wasn't, in their mind, awkward for any other teacher to be teaching this part of the curriculum. and be able to do her role and be known as the sex ed curriculum person or whatever. So it was kind of a win-win for them, they thought. And then when they saw what was going on, they pulled back from that. And the curriculum director actually rewrote some questions and then sent them to me and asked me if I approved.
That's amazing.
So it was a big deal.
Good job on them for listening to the parent and letting, including the parent's voice in the whole process too. Good job, school district. I mean, I don't know if we're going to,
they did good.
I don't know if we're going to good job school district this whole conversation,
right?
but in that instance, and good job, mom, because that is no small task, chasing down the actual truth of where this is all happening. And that is why at Moms for Liberty, we say all the time, you have to be present. You have to be awake and aware. You have to be checking the backpacks, but you also have to be watching and attending those school board meetings, watching the adoption of curriculum, and really digging into the agendas and what's happening. A lot of times things are tied to money. And if you just accept what they put in front of you, you're missing a lot of what's happening, including violating laws and allowing Planned Parenthood into your school. Just because it doesn't say Planned Parenthood has sponsored this sex ed teacher in this curriculum, clearly they still have a foothold in schools. So
right. And when you look into Planned Parenthood and how many different resources they have, it seems like every year they're rewriting a curriculum and calling it something different. Mm-hmm. So they're a step ahead all the time, but we just have to make sure that we do our digging and find out where things come from.
And people don't understand how bad they are. There's actually the International Planned Parenthood Federation. And when I went to Poland earlier this year, they were getting their foothold in Poland, and they're like 90% Catholic. Mm-hmm. They were not happy. The parents were very upset. And it's not just about abortion. They have adopted comprehensive sex ed, which means there's gender ideology all the way from pre-K through 12. It's really awful. Planned Parenthood is not good for kids.
No, they make a lot of money, and they are after the money, whether it's federal funds, state funds,
school district funds,
private funds, mm-hmm. Wherever they can get it. And so follow the money.
And now they're endorsing in school board races. Why would they be doing that? Oh, because they want the school boards to adopt their curriculum to make more money. So it's very disgusting.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about other things that you have been finding in school that have turned you into this activist that you didn't even expect to probably become.
So my daughter, who is now 19, she was in 10th grade English, and she had a couple assignments. This is right after COVID. We came back. So same time my son's going through the sex ed part in 8th grade. She's going through a curriculum in 10th grade. And it was literally a worksheet that was talking about critical race theory. And it gave her all these questions. And then they were going to have a classroom discussion on this. Did
it say critical race theory on it, or
you did.
Okay. Oh, really?
It literally did. So
a lot of times people don't know it's critical race theory because they haven't studied it and they don't understand. And so they say it's not anywhere, but yours literally said the words critical race theory. Yes. Okay. So it perked up your ears.
It did.
Did you know what critical race theory was at the time?
No.
Okay.
I had to dig in, and I was like, wait, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still remember one of the most concerning things to me was this was supposed to be about media literacy in this part of this English class. And they were here's your list of sources that are deemed credible by
I don't even want to know.
Educators.
CNN.
Yeah. And these are the ones that are not. And this is where you go to get your resources. But you had to use one of their credible sources to answer the questions. And so she called right away and was just like, Mom, I don't feel comfortable with this, but we have the option to opt out. And I was like, what do you mean opt out? What is opt outing?
Why did she not feel comfortable with it? Let's start there.
She looked around her classroom and she knew that some of her friends would know where she stands on things, and that it would separate them. They were going to be separated. And that happened several times in that class.
From answering questions on a worksheet?
Correct. Because they were then going to have a classroom discussion.
Got it. Okay.
So I talked to the teacher then, talked to our principal, And they were giving us the option. So she opted out of the conversation, and she answered the questions how she would naturally answer the questions.
Okay. Do you know what those sources were? I'm curious on what sources they were allowed to use.
I would have to look
That'd be
back.
funny. That'd be interesting.
MSNBC.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who knows?
I would have to look back, but I think there were 2 that were somewhat conservative. The rest were all very progressive.
Interesting. Not
Mhm.
surprised at all, though.
Mhm.
Okay. So the critical race theory issue was bothersome to you. Anything else that you were seeing in schools that led you to waking up to what's happening in public education?
So then my son went through freshman year of sex ed. I mean, there's so many different things. Freshman year of sex ed, it was health class. And again, there were like 5 things listed that they were going to be going over that semester in that class. And it's like sleeping patterns and sleeping well and how important that is, nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of
just
this sounds so
all
fine
of
to
this
me.
normal
What's your
stuff.
problem?
Exactly. And so then but it said and more. I think it was the 6th thing was and more. So I emailed the teacher and just said, hey, can I find out what and more is in your class? And she said, oh, no problem. We're going over some mental illness type information, but then we're also going over sex ed. And so I was like, oh, well, can you email me that? And she was like, well, I can't email it, but you can come in and see it. So I went in and saw that with the principal, and he'd never gone through it either. And our state law at the time, there was minimal on what you were supposed to do in that class or needed to do. It broke down to, we do block scheduling. So it broke down to 6 to 8 hours of sex ed.
Wow.
And it was going through all the how-tos of all the combinations of people, traditional, non-traditional. And then they had plenty of time for classroom discussion. So I asked her then, I was like, well, what happens during classroom discussion? And she said, I let them ask freely anything that they want to ask. But so I can't control that part of the class.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. And I'm still just kind of iffy on it. And then she showed me a couple of the slides of STDs, which were real pictures of real male and female.
Mm-hmm. With STDs,
with
like showing you what the
and
scared straight. Kind of like back in the drug days, right?
Exactly. And that was her intent. That was the intent, right? Yeah. But I just thought, okay.
Freshmen are very young. I mean, I have boys, and I can't even imagine. Mine's a senior right now. Might be able to handle some of that now, but 4 years ago, very young. Freshmen are young.
So we were walking after that, walking out of the building, and the principal said, well, so what'd you think? And I said,
I would have said, what do you think, sir? Do you have a son or daughter that's 14? And do you want them seeing this?
Well, and his heart is, he doesn't want to see all kinds of things go on in school, right? Or outside of school, and for kids to stay innocent. But at the same time, I was like, okay, I can't unsee the pictures that I just saw. I cannot imagine being that age and being, let's say that you were pretty innocent at that age. Let's just say you are, which there are a lot of kids who are, and you've never seen the opposite genitalia. Let's just say you haven't.
That's your first introduction to it. Oof.
That's something being controlled that you can't take out of your mind. If you see something, you can't change that.
Yeah. So what'd you do?
It broke my heart.
What'd you do? Did you opt your son out?
I opted him out. And so for that section of class, he was in a different room, still had written information. And it was kind of funny. We got home. It was about a week later, and I said, okay, let's do sex ed. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, this is what the law requires. I want to make sure that you're covered in this.
Good for you.
And so I asked them a couple questions, and I was like, there you go, done.
Yeah, sex ed with the boys, not always so fun as mom. Been there with my
Yeah.
two boys. So I kind of want to transition to some of the anti-American stuff that
Absolutely.
you have uncovered and experienced. And I think it started with the critical race theory stuff that you saw and the dividing of the students. Anything else in that area before we move on a little bit to your more personal story?
So yes, this last year we had a year-long battle with our school district. Went into same English class, but now it's my son. And so I was already pre-alerted. They had been revamping the curriculum over the last 6 years. And so there were two units in it this time that were anti-America, very divisive and very depressing on the American dream. So the 2 units were supposed to be covering
This is English class, not
class.
American history class, right?
Not
Okay.
history, but supposed to be covering the American dream. And
so the syllabus says these 2 sections are the American dream. So
correct.
You pulled it and thought this should be interesting to look at. And what did you
How
find?
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm all excited. Yeah.
The American
Let's
dream.
go.
What'd you find?
And what I found was first 2 books were graphic novels and this is 10th grade, sophomore English class. And they were 6th grade reading level.
The
So
dumbing down
first,
of 10th graders.
Yeah. First concern is if we have students who can't read, let's help them learn how to read instead of dumbing down the rest
entire
of the
class to 2 graphic novels for your for 10th grade English. Okay.
Correct. And then it went into some social justice book, basically. And then it went into articles, poems by Tupac about a rose growing out of concrete and how oppressive and hard that is. And, it was just story after story of how difficult it is to accomplish the American dream.
Did it have any stories of the American dream in the American dream section of the English class?
So there was not one story of the American dream that was, I don't care where you're from or what color your skin is, but there wasn't one story of success.
Really?
Where it was just like, oh my gosh, they came and they overcame like all these different obstacles and they were so much better for it.
So nothing like that. So
No.
it was depressing.
No.
And it didn't cover it. Said, I mean, would you say that it was like there's no American dream? If you can't overcome all of these oppressive things, then is there an American dream?
I know.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
it really makes you question that. So it's like they took what they were supposed, the units on the American dream, but if you took that wording out of it,
yeah,
it's a whole section on divisive, anti-America, social justice, oppressor oppressed.
So you did the usual Shellie thing that we're learning, right? And you went to someone to say this is unacceptable. And I know a little bit of the story, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it for those that are listening. But you have escalated this and worked through the system. And I think I saw a video of you recently being drilled by a judge. Was it? Did it make it all the way through a magistrate or a judge? Am I wrong here?
Yeah. We went through, we had a judge and I represented myself in that, which kudos to Moms for Liberty and Patriot Academy for that. Man, I didn't know that I was ever going to really use the part from Patriot Academy that I learned, but being able to word things in the form of a question and, just some of the interview things that we have learned and just all the pieces come together. That
you did a great job.
I
caught sections of it. I was very worried for you. Like you looked not small, but it's you sitting there, and the power dynamic was not with you. Was not on your side. You were.
Yes. So that one was with the Department of Education.
Okay.
So that was the Iowa Department of Education, and there were some people in that room that were somewhat on my side.
Well, that's good.
That were concerned about the material, and they're concerned still because they could only vote on whether the process and procedure was followed correctly. They could not vote on the material. And so knowing that, I wrote my statement and read my statement, wanting to make sure they knew what was going on. knowing what the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
And so we did have a conversation in that meeting about the supplemental material that was being added. They couldn't even consider, they only brought forward these books. So conversations of the Department of Ed asking if we ever got to review the material. And my answer was no. And they still haven't.
Yeah. For those that are listening and maybe aren't following exactly, there was concerning material, but the most concerning material in these instances was the supplemental material. And we have that problem in schools all across the country because a lot of times districts, schools, parents will review textbooks for adoption and they pass the sniff test, they pass the muster, but then teachers bring in supplemental materials, as they should be able to do. You should be able to support your lesson with things that will interest your class, except what we're finding across the country are these supplemental materials often are awful and would never pass any kind of approval by a school board and definitely not by parents. And when I served on a school board here in Florida, often parents would bring me some of these supplemental materials that they were frustrated or upset with, just wholly inappropriate assignments sometimes. And I will say every single time it came back to Teacher Pay Teacher, it's a website that teachers create lesson plans, put them up on the site, and other teachers can purchase them for a very affordable cost, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And some of them are subpar. Some of them don't really align with standards, but some of them are awful and against the law in some states with how they approach subjects and issues. And some of them are false and not even good, not even well done. And so we see that. I saw that on the board. I know we see it across the country, and that was the same problem you were having there. And so what Shellie is saying is she was, I guess, protesting, filed a complaint against what was being taught in the English class, but no one would actually look at the things that were problem. They kept reviewing the approved curriculum, not the supplemental items that were in there. So it's a year later, and Shellie is still fighting this fight. She has gone before the Department of Education, before a judge, before the school board, before the principal. Like, she has taken it to all levels, and it's still under review, and she's still fighting. And I just think that is amazing. But what it speaks to for me is there's something about this issue with the American dream that has struck a chord with you, that you are not letting this go. And so why do you think that is?
So yeah, now you're gonna make me tear up.
No, there's no reason to cry.
I still remember it was June.
Oh goodness. Let me get the tissues. Let me get the tissues.
It was June. And it really finally dawned on me. And it was because the haters gonna hate, right?
Yeah.
It was not because of what the haters were saying to me. It didn't make me cry.
Let's
or
talk
get
about the haters for a second.
Okay.
That's the topic of this episode. The haters gonna hate. And even that, I think there's 150 comments from the advertisement yesterday on this, and the haters were already hating.
So funny.
They're already hating on the post and
Right.
And hating on the title "Haters Gonna Hate." And so what you're going through, you've just brought us through 4 years of you questioning curriculum, questioning supplemental materials, filing, standing up at school board meetings and state meetings and making your claim. Has there been any pushback?
There's been a lot of pushback.
And what does that look like for you?
We have one local group that loves to put anyone who is questioning something. They will go by the playbook basically and try to discredit them. Now through memes, through social media posts, through digging into their past, through anything that they can.
So instead of attacking the argument you're making, instead of
Correct.
arguing with you about what you're concerned about, they just come after you personally.
Correct.
And so you have been under attack personally for a number of years.
Right.
And what does
for
that
about
look like?
3 years. So they dug into my past, and I have in my past 22 years ago, somewhere in there, some drug addiction and some ugly stuff, and tried to completely discredit me because of that.
So
from
the first
back
time,
then.
So you're speaking out somewhere in your school district about something. When was the first time that came up? Did you see it? Was it written? Was it a picture? Or did they find a arrest record? Like what? I can't imagine what that moment was like. Oh my gosh, my past is here on my front doorstep. Do you remember the first one?
I do. I remember the first one. I'd actually had a medical procedure done that day. And so I was a little loopy, and I took a nap, and I woke up and I had all these messages. And it was just like, hey, just checking in, wanting to make sure you're okay. And so then I was like, uh-oh. So I dug in online and saw, and they were being absolutely horrible about my past. And luckily I was still a little loopy because I was like, oh, that's kind of mean. I mean, that was my reaction. Thank God. Now I feel like God was protecting me. And I remember I called my mentor, and I said, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. What do I do about this? And she said, okay, here's going to be my advice. This is what I'm going to say to you. Is what they're saying true? Did you do that? And I said, yes. And she said, okay, so own it. And then she said,
what were they
and
saying?
just live in truth.
What were they saying?
They were saying, talking about the facts of, my past. And then beyond that, saying the part that was upsetting, that's not true, was discrediting me now because of that then. And the thing that she said was, is that who you are now? No, I had to say it out loud. So, for our warriors out there, saying those things out loud is very, very powerful in your story. And just how you react to some of those things. Do I own that I did it? Yes. Is that who I am now? No.
So did you respond to them in any fashion?
Yes, I did.
Are you going to tell us?
I was like, yeah, yes, that happened. I take full accountability for it. And if anybody out there is struggling with any of the same things, I would be happy to talk to you.
Be an example to others.
Yes.
And what about your children? Did they know about this? Did they know about your past? And how did they feel seeing this stuff? Did they see this stuff online? And how did they feel seeing this stuff about you online?
They do know about my past. I'm very open with that because, I hope that they learn from my mistakes, like we always do as parents, but also just to be transparent. And it's also what God's done in my life, and, restoration and the beauty that can come out of true pain and true, doing life without God is basically what I was doing. So just being the example of the difference.
Were they posting, I mean, if it gets too personal, let me know. Were they posting pictures from back then? Or were you lucky enough that it was so long ago, it was before cell phones? Yeah, was there graphics and things that they could see? And were your kids seeing that? I'm kind of curious how, because here's the thing. We have got warriors all across this country, but we have a lot of people that are too scared to stand up. And I believe some of the reason they're too scared to stand up is people have a past. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, I saw what they did to Shellie. And I also had a drinking problem, a drug problem, an affair, whatever's in your background. And so you don't speak up because you are terrified of what's going to happen. And so for me, you're such an example of you don't let that control you now, because that's who you were and it's not who you are now. So, but some of that is you don't want your kids to see or know. And so were they exposed to more, I say to my kids, I used to XYZ and I don't do that anymore because I know better and I'm an adult. But if they saw visuals,
yeah, as far as I know, there weren't any visuals out there except for like pictures of record stuff or, whatever they could dig to find me. And my kids hadn't seen that before. So it is a little bit more real when you see things like that. They were, posting things, telling people not to come to my salon. They were, posting a picture of the front of the salon. This is where you don't want to go, and things like that.
Trying to destroy you.
But back to the hardcore part of them telling that I'm still that same person, one of my thoughts was, you can't shame me any more than I ever shamed myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very, very true for me. So do I still do that to myself? No, I don't. And that goes back to the American dream. I mean, it's like, do we hold people in captivity in America, or do we allow them to move forward? So the very people who are preaching the opposite side were trying to hold me in captivity. So that's where I was like, that June, I was like, oh, wait a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is not going well. We are separating our nation. We are putting people in different pockets, and the divisive content in those classrooms is part of the problem.
Do you think all of this hate has made you stronger, or has it been more irrelevant than anything?
It's made me stronger. Once that was out there, I'd been quiet about a lot of things, and I had said I would never do a lot of thank you. They just keep coming. And when I cry, it's gratitude. It is not, oh my gosh, I'm so heartbroken right now. Most of the time it's gratitude. So you can ask Jen. She sits by me at church. She looks at me. Is she crying yet?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's made you stronger, the haters.
It has.
Has it made your kids stronger?
It has. It has made my kids stronger. So I think what they have learned is a story can be a story. And if it's in the past, that's one thing. But you can turn any hardship into something absolutely beautiful and continue to own it at the same time. And that's, God does that all the time.
So do you think it's made the people around you stronger too? I'm just thinking about all the other moms in Iowa that have watched you closely go through the attacks and the shaming and the bullying and are watching you come out on the other side.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think it has, and that's my hope for so many people. I remember coming out of COVID, and I had clients who were CEOs of companies and, high up positions, and they had come out of things realizing they couldn't post things on social media about their personal feelings, even about faith or being part of an organization or things like that, without fear of being fired from their job, even if it was their personal page. That was nothing of hate. It was something of encouragement, but just had the wrong stamp on it, according to some groups.
Well, I'm super impressed with you. I think you have a great story of redemption and overcoming. And we're going to transition now into Shellie's next phase of her story. And we're going to take a 1-minute break while you watch what happened to Shellie, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago now, October 18th, we'll say, 2025. If you guys will cut to that 1-minute video. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some wins Shellie's had.
Presenting the Mary Catherine Goddard Award for Promoting Liberty.
Congratulations, Shellie, on receiving the Mary Catherine Goddard Award. Like Mary Catherine, you have stood with faith and conviction to defend truth and liberty. You took on the system, you did the hard work, and endured the arrows because you knew our children deserved to learn the true American dream.
Oh, man, if you would have asked the 28, 30-year-old Shellie that was broken down, a total mess, if I could build life back up,
right?
I would have said, well, I know it's a possibility because I live in America.
Hi, Mom. Congratulations on your award. I am so incredibly proud of you, and you are so deserving of this. After the last couple years, all the trials and tribulations you have faced has come to this point. Thank you for always showing me and my siblings what it looks like to be a woman who's not afraid to use her voice, who stands up for the right things, and a woman who walks steadfast in her faith.
You are courageous and unstoppable, holding your faith as the center of your strength. Even though you've had evil nipping at your heels, you continue to carry the torch of liberty bright We love you, Shellie, and we are so proud of you.
Welcome back to the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty, and I have with us today Shellie Flockhart. She was the winner of the Mary Catherine Goddard Award for promoting liberty at our national summit just a few weeks ago. And what a night that was. Shellie was there with her son. And I could even cry because I have sons. Watching him sit next to you as we announced that you were the winner and having him escort you up to the stage in your beautiful gown. And then you stood there watching the video that we just played. And when your daughter came on the screen.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Oh, gosh. First, having TJ escort me up there, and I had told him, I was like, if by chance I win this, you're walking up there too, because you were just as brave in all of this. You know, I continued to ask him over the last couple of years, and especially the last year, is it okay with you if I move forward with this? And he was absolutely. And he completely agreed that it was anti-America. So I said, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get it, but if I do, you got to walk up there. And so when they called my name, and I was like, all right, come on. And he was so proud.
He was such a gentleman. He linked arm, escorted you like a grown man would.
He did.
Escorted you up to the stage. And then I saw you kind of ugly cry a bit when your daughter appeared on the screen.
Oh yeah.
So that was another great moment.
It was. We talked about this a little bit before, that, the younger Shellie, the broken down Shellie, there were a couple years where I was not very present in her young years. And so then to hear her, I can ugly cry right now, hear her on that screen talking about being proud
of you.
Yeah. Talk about redemption. Talk about restoration and the possibilities in our nation for anyone to go from nothing, or complete hardship. And I'm making Tina cry. I'm getting you. To go from that and maybe have to work harder than some people, but there's still the opportunity. That's the piece that's not being talked about very much. Just because somebody has to work harder than maybe someone else doesn't mean it's not attainable. And so to go from, starting life all over again at the age of, it was probably 31, 32, and work through years. I mean, there were years of my family not believing I was going to stay okay, and worrying about that. And when my parents were alive, there were a couple years of them worrying about me. And then humbling myself enough to start back over with my career and work on up, and then opening a salon and being a present mom and being as involved as I possibly could be in my kids' lives, and which includes asking the school what else is being taught. And taking that seriously. I know what it's like to not have as much of that option, or to not be present when it comes to some of those things. So then moving to now, hearing those words from my daughter and having my son on my arm. I wish my other kids were there, but it was beautiful.
It was beautiful to witness too. And so I'm so proud of you for all that you've overcome, and clearly your children are too. And you're such a great example to them and to all of us. And, I want to start, as we start wrapping this up, just talking about Shellie the winner, because 4 weeks ago, or however many weeks ago now, on the 18th, you win this award. I think you've had some pretty big wins as in your role at Moms for Liberty, Dallas County, right?
Correct.
Dallas County, Iowa, and statewide, I believe. The chapters in Iowa have been successful at. I think I saw a video of you speaking to Donald Trump
Yeah.
during the
Yes.
election. And so just talk about some of these opportunities you've had now, the new and improved Shellie, things that have been successes for you.
So one of the things during caucus season that we had the opportunity of doing in Iowa was with any of the candidates coming to Iowa, one of our biggest questions was, are you willing to dismantle the Department of Education? Teachers unions, hopefully that happens.
Yeah.
Are you willing to dismantle that? And so we got to ask several of them questions, and I got to be involved in quite a few things with the Trump campaign, and that was such an honor. And those are amazing opportunities.
Yeah. And, you say you got to ask these questions of the candidates, which really starts driving. Iowa is the first caucus, right? Yep, Iowa's first. And so you're driving the conversation and the important discussions that the rest of us are going to hear for the next year on the campaign trail. And so you did that. I saw you stand up with a microphone and ask President Trump a question. And so you go from how many years ago in such a, your life in shambles, not even able to really care for your children in the way you wanted to leading the discussion about issues in America and for the future of our country. I think it's a remarkable story. So I'm just so glad that you're here to share it today. Any other wins you want to share with your Iowa ladies? Share with us about your Iowa ladies and what you guys have done there.
With getting over fear of what other people thought of me, and with the exposure of my story from years ago, even though I've been very vocal about it anyway, I don't have fear anymore of moving forward. I mean, that's already happened. It's already out there, right? So this year I decided to run for city council. And
why? Why'd you say, like, not school board, not anything else? So city council, what brought you to that one?
Being a small business owner, again, I want to promote opportunity. And so in my town, it was, I saw one seat open or available, and then found out that there were actually a couple, and decided this is a great opportunity. And everything's already out there on the table. There's nothing. I was like, there's nothing that somebody's going to dig up that I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I should never have ran for that or whatever. And I think that so many times we are so fearful of maybe the piece that could actually do the absolute opposite.
Fear is a liar.
It's so true.
Fear is a liar.
So true.
And it's almost like your haters freed you.
They did. They absolutely
to move
did.
forward in a way where you didn't have to worry about that being exposed at just the most severe level ever possible.
Yes.
And so they freed you to run for city council.
They did.
And what was that like, running for city council? Was it fun?
It was fun.
Yeah.
So, we've already done training on campaigns and things like that. And so that was already in the back of my mind, and I've helped other campaigns as well. And got to take those different pieces and put it together into my campaign. And one of the biggest, most interesting parts of it was door knocking became my favorite.
I love door knocking. I love that you love door knocking. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to get up and door knock. But when you meet the people and they open the doors and you have the conversations, you loved it?
Yes. Yes. And so, we had those conversations, and I found that the majority of my community, they were all concerned about the same things, but the narrative being put out there maybe by the city or media was something different. And so being able to just bring that forward and be there for the people is amazing.
So great. And so I think we'll now announce your biggest win yet, which happened on November the 4th, right?
Yes.
Which is, are you serving on the city council?
I am a city council woman, Shellie Flockhart.
That's so great. Congratulations.
Yes.
It's wonderful. And are your kids proud of you again?
They are so proud.
So good. Did you have a win party?
We did.
Yeah, wonderful.
We had a fabulous win party. There's this business called Board and Batten that's in our town, and they have a basement part that's almost like a speakeasy type place, and it was so much fun.
So great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And so we end every episode of the Fire of Liberty show talking about being a joyful warrior. And I think you are the consummate joyful warrior. You have overcome with so much grace. But what does that mean to you, being a joyful warrior?
Being able to walk through anything, knowing that as long as I've got my armor on, and that God is with me, and that I was actually reading out of that link. I was sharing that Lincoln book with you today. There's a part in there that Lincoln talks about taking God with him, but he also wants to be with God. So instead of just, what can God do for me? What can I do for God? And so it's taking that piece just even deeper and making sure that I'm of service to other men and women, but that I'm also in service to God.
Beautifully said. I haven't heard that approach, the joyful warrior ethos yet, but I think maybe we should make a clip of everyone wrapping up the Fire of Liberty show episode with how they describe being a joyful warrior, and we would kick it off with that one. And so, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fire of Liberty show with Shellie Flockhart from Dallas County, Iowa. She is a frontline warrior who has overcome so much joyfully. She has kind of gone from a life of immense struggle, I would say, to being the victor and serving on her city council, winning the Mary Catherine Goddard Award for promoting liberty, and serving her community with heart and passion. And it is an honor to have her serving in Moms for Liberty leadership. And we're grateful you came out here, Shellie. And so we ask that you follow the Fire of Liberty show on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple. Give us 5 stars. Go ahead and drop a comment into supporting us, and share with your friends if you enjoyed this episode. We will see you next week at 10 a.m. live on all socials. I'm Tina Deskovich, CEO and co-founder and the host of the Fire of Liberty show.